You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. Bitcoin, Ether, Ripple, Litecoin, and more. Cryptocurrencies and other digital assets are taking the financial world by storm. This exploding market provides everything a savvy trader needs: volatility, volume, and liquidity. Provided you know how to find it. That's where we come in. Welcome to the Crypto Rundown. Each week, we'll break down the latest trading activity, trends, and developments on everything from coins to tokens, futures, and even OTC options. If it's moving the crypto markets, then you'll find it on the Crypto Rundown. This program is brought to you by Genesis Volatility, also known as GVol, home of institutional-grade crypto options analytics. Whether you're trading CeFi options or DeFi options, cryptocurrencies move. Use GVol Analytics to analyze implied volatility, model realized volatility, structure positions, and unlock alpha. For more information, visit gvol.io. That's GVOL.io. Now it's time to dive into the exploding world of cryptocurrencies and digital assets. It's time for the Crypto Rundown.
All right, everybody. That music means we are back once again for the Crypto Rundown, the program here on the Options Insider Radio Network. We go beyond our traditional stomping grounds of your Apple, your Tesla, your VIX, and your SPY options. Look a little bit further afield, see what's going on out there in the crypto hills. Going to, of course, have talked the spot, the options, the futures, the skew, the volatility, and a whole bunch more. My name is Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com, as well as, of course, from the ever-compelling network upon which so many of you are mainlining these days. Remember, if you want to join us live for this show, you want to get the pro content, including the pro Q&As coming up tomorrow, Options Oddities every Friday. Just did the big Pro Trading Crate giveaway for June. You know where to go. Theoptionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go to begin your trading journey to the dark side. And speaking of beginning things, let us commence the show. It is time to roll out the Crypto Hot Seat.
Forget about cold storage. It's time to turn up the heat on thought leaders from the world of cryptocurrencies and digital assets. It's time to take their place on the Crypto Hot Seat.
All right, buddy, welcome to the Crypto Hot Seat, the portion of the program where we welcome on guests from throughout the world of crypto derivatives and indeed beyond, and proceed to pick their brains for the benefit of you, the listener. Next up on the hot seat, we have two newcomers to the program and indeed to the network. We have Michael Chauliac, the president, and Philippe Bekhazi, the CEO at Stablehouse. Gentlemen, welcome to the Crypto Rundown program.
Hey, good to be here.
Hello, thanks for having us.
And gentlemen, as we are wont to do with all of our first-timers, why don't you go ahead and give us a bit of an overview of your background and indeed the financial and, of course, the crypto space, as well as what it is you do day-to-day over there at Stablehouse. Maybe, Michael, we'll start with you.
Sure. So my name is Michael NC. My focus has been in fintech for the last several years, passionate about growth and building consumer-first businesses. And my day-to-day is in helping build Stablehouse into a long-term successful brand to help individual investors as well as institutional investors, make the best of and achieve financial growth in crypto, but do that with the stability and regulatory twist that we believe to be critical to be successful.
And Philippe, same question for you. Give us a little bit of your background and what it is you do day to day over there at Stablehouse.
Yeah, I am Philippe Bekhazi. I'm the CEO of Stablehouse, as well as XPTO. Started my career a long time ago now in trading, and that's my DNA. It's my focus. And I got into crypto early on, about 10, 11 years ago now, and I've been passionate about the crypto scene and obviously we started with Bitcoin, and now we're sort of presented with a lot of choices, and decided to start Stablehouse to allow people to understand crypto better in a more simple way, because there's a lot of jargon, there's a lot of complication, and we want to make things more stable, hence why we call it Stablehouse. But and we want to make it more clear and simple, where the message is one that of simplicity, but also where you can earn a better return, a better risk adjusted return. So that's what we're here for. Mike joined Stablehouse about a year ago. We started Stablehouse a couple of years ago, and we're on a pretty exciting journey so far.
Well, we have you on at exciting times in the market. Of course, we are, well, not so much this past week, but outside of that, we are kind of deep into the teeth of, I've lost track, crypto winter 2.0, maybe 3.0. I've lost track of the numbers out there. So obviously we have seen a broad decline across most of the major crypto assets. Again, we'll get to that a little bit later on the show, listeners. Not so much this week, but it is an intriguing time. So walk us through, what is these past 6 months, all of 22, what has that been like for you folks over there at Stablehouse, in light of the fact that most of the primary assets you guys are working with are a wee bit lighter now than when they started the year?
Sure. Well, maybe I'll take that question. So, as I was saying, I started my career about 10 years ago in crypto. It feels like a lifetime. And in that time, we've seen a number of bear markets. So, Bitcoin and crypto basically have cycles that are very tight. We can see basically bear markets every 3 to 4 years easily. And so, what we're seeing right now is after a very, very euphoric 2021 that saw the crypto space triple, quadruple, even more, and certain of these tokens were completely parabolic, and now we're basically backed with a lot of global macro headwinds, a war, the back of the pandemic, and so I think there's been a little bit of a cool down, to say the least, and of course that has exposed some of the underlying sort of trends that had been going on in 2020 and 2021, which was basically, shadow leverage that's not on exchange, leverage that is basically been hidden from view. And, we've seen a lot of these players kind of, come to the realization that, you can be cash rich. Suddenly you're very cash poor, and you have to make up for margin calls, and, risk management becomes a very important issue. And if you're not doing risk management in a bull market, you're going to be very much exposed in the bear market. So things like, duration mismatch, asset liability mismatch, all these things are very important things that you have to have in place, or else you will be exposed, and you will have a hard time when those bear markets come, and they do come. So yes, we're now a pretty big retracement. I think Bitcoin went as low as basically a 75% retracement, maybe a little bit more. Now we're starting to find a footing. I think leverage has kind of been, let's just say, not eradicated, but certainly diminished, very meaningfully so. And we can start anew, I think, barring any sort of more global macro headwinds, potentially more inflation, more U.S. Federal Reserve action that can be maybe somewhat detrimental to risk assets. And, unfortunately right now, crypto does react to to the risk off trade, right? So it is there's a lot of correlation between equities and crypto. And to be honest, crypto has gone down, but some of these equities have gone down just even more. So it's not only a crypto story, it's really a global macro story. And obviously crypto is going along with it.
I like that. A fresh start for crypto. I think we could all use that, Philippe. A nice just cleansing of the palate for everyone out there. But is that what you're hearing and seeing from the users over here at Stablehouse right now? Are they starting to buy in at these levels? I mentioned we have seen a bit of a retracement right now over the course of the past week. Are you starting to see maybe a little bit more optimism, a little bit more bullish transactions and bullish inquiries? What are you seeing and hearing from the clientele over there at Stablehouse right now?
I think certainly a lot of the people at Stablehouse were pretty confident in the system. They were comfortable with the platform. And to be honest, they did not really panic on the platform in the first place. A lot of them were long-term holders. And I think recently they have been more buyers, obviously, than sellers. I mean, that's usually the case. We've seen a little bit of withdrawals here and there on the back of, some panic. But generally, I think that the flow has been quite positive to buying crypto on weakness. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But so far, it's been pretty good.
And you haven't seen any negative impact in terms of demand from this prolonged crypto sell-off? Are fewer people coming to Stablehouse right now, or has it pretty much been the same core and they're maybe just looking to reposition down here at these levels?
I'll let Michael take that question.
The observation has certainly been that there's been a reduction in the daily run rates that we would have normally have seen in the prior weeks and months. And there's been at least during the last 3 weeks a bit of a quiet down, and last week it actually started to pick back up and show that quote unquote the most scary moments of the market shakedown fell more or less on their tail end.
Well, you guys do a lot of work in education and financial literacy over there. I'm curious right now, what are the most pressing, the most popular, the most common queries you guys are receiving over there? Is it something as straightforward and as simple as why is Bitcoin selling off? Or is it more involved? What are some of the questions you're receiving from the folks over there at Stablehouse right now?
I'll take that. Our current focus is in bringing a level of stability and regulatory oversight into a space that hasn't had much. When you think about yield opportunities, and so naturally, especially with some of the very big players taking all of us by surprise, any other platform that is operating slightly differently, you want to understand what those differences are. And so the most popular questions have been, hey, how do you manage risk? What do you consider risk? How do you operate in an environment where what is happening elsewhere would not happen within Stablehouse? These are all the natural questions that anyone should be asking. They should be asking that before they join a platform, and they certainly should have confidence in the answers once they are a part of any crypto environment.
Speaking of that environment, Philippe, you mentioned earlier the correlation of crypto with the leading equities out there. A few years ago when we started this show, all the talk about crypto was that it was this non-correlated asset class. And if you put it into your portfolio alongside equities and whatever else, maybe metals or energy, whatever else you had in there, it would play this non-correlated role. We, of course, have seen over the last few years as crypto has grown in popularity, a lot of the same people who are playing in these equities and the meme stocks last year also playing in crypto. As a result, that correlation has grown to, it's not quite 1-to-1, but it's pretty darn close. We've had more than a few guests on the show over the past year or so really refer to crypto now as effectively a high beta tech allocation. That's kind of what you're getting out there right now. So I'm curious from your perspective over there at Stablehouse, how do you view that now? How do you view crypto in light of its increasing correlation with equities? And what role do you think it should play in your traditional portfolio in light of the fact that it does seem to be moving pretty close to the major equities out there right now?
Right. The first thing I'd like to say, first of all, is that crypto is not equal to Bitcoin. And I want to make that distinction because, when we talk about crypto, we tend to sort of think about it as one holistic thing, and it is not, right? It's 1,000 different stories. And Bitcoin, its story is to be this sort of stored of value that's sort of decorrelated, that's decentralized, that's immutable, that's finite in its number, 21 million coins. It's got its, a very strong network. It's very secure. So that's one story. And when we talk about the decorrelation of crypto versus equities, I think a lot of people are thinking Bitcoin, when in reality, a lot of these crypto out there are really securities, or they're potentially just they're just tech stocks, right? So they're going to be correlated to the Nasdaq. Now, in terms of why the Bitcoin is being so correlated right now to equities, is that I think there's still a bit of a miseducation, a misunderstanding, and it's only Bitcoin's only been around for 13 years or so, and so people, and it's fine in terms of when you're doing quantitative work and you're looking at the past, and we've seen that, Bitcoin has been quite correlated to a certain, stock index. Then what are you going to do when you're coding, an algorithm? It's going to be selling, crypto or Bitcoin when indices are down, and so we will eventually get out of this. But for now, Bitcoin and crypto, and Bitcoin being the bellwether of crypto, they are all correlated to the Nasdaq or to the stock indices. It's just the reality of the world. Eventually, I think Bitcoin will trade more like gold, right? Even though gold hasn't really done anything interesting in recent times. One would have thought that gold would have done much better at a time of inflation, but it hasn't. So there's a lot of things that are a lot of assumptions that have not really come to pass. But I think over time, those idiosyncratic features of all these coins will come to bear. They'll come to light, and we will trade Bitcoin differently than we'll trade an Ethereum, which will trade differently than when it trades a Solana, and that would be a very interesting time. Be a very interesting time for a lot of people, and because there will be a more clear story, and it'll be field day for quants, because they love to have, if everything is correlated one to one, then it doesn't really matter if you're selling a Bitcoin, Ethereum, or a Solana or anything else, because it's basically going to go in the same direction. Eventually, they won't go in the same direction because they'll have different stories, right? And that'll be a really interesting time. I can't wait to see that happen. So yeah, at Stablehouse, what we're trying to do is to exactly do that, right? Educate those various different technologies. They're all different technologies. They're all different stories, and we need to educate people about them. It's not all the same thing.
Well, you're right. Crypto is much more than just Bitcoin. Bitcoin takes up all the oxygen in the room, it seems like, but there are many other digital assets to analyze and discuss. So I'm curious if you guys over there at Stablehouse, when you're not talking about Bitcoin, what are some of the other hot digital assets that folks are talking about and asking about right now?
Phil, why don't you take that?
Well, you want to take that, Mike?
Go ahead.
I'm happy to jump in. Look, I think we list tokens based on what we believe are merits, right? Where we believe that the user is not going to put themselves in a position of harm. We don't want to put our customers in a position of harm. So we want to make sure that we vet these tokens in a way that where we can understand what the story behind that token is, what the value is, right? What are the features that are differentiating? And so when you think about every bull market, they're all kind of driven by different different tokens, right? So, the Dogecoin and the Shiba Inu of the last bull market may not be the same in the next bull market. They may still go up, but maybe another coin will take its place. Right now, I don't want to single any one of them because we're still kind of in a bear market. But there are certain ecosystems that are being built right now that have, I think, interesting features. And we like to focus obviously on the bulge brackets like the Bitcoins and Ethereums first. But obviously we don't want to say that to your point that that's all there is. But we feel obviously more comfortable in the larger market caps, the ones that are more adopted, the one that have a clear team, a clear story, a clear technology, and it's not just hype, right? It's important to make sure that it's not all hype driven, because obviously, and to the detriment of the crypto industry, a lot of people say, well, all of this is hot air. It's all about supply and demand, and there's nothing backing crypto. And I think we need to move away from that. We need to show that that's not the truth, right? And so what we're doing is doing exactly that. We want to make sure we are ahead of the curve. We want to make sure that we don't leave any of these promising tokens behind, and that we are able to list them in a timely fashion. But also we want to make sure that we don't get people in harm's way.
Well, speaking of getting into harm's way, your name, Stablehouse, it implies a certain amount of stability. Of course, we have seen a little bit of flux in the stablecoin realm over the past few months. We saw, the big meltdowns of a lot of the big algorithmic stablecoins. Of course, the big Terra Luna fiasco has caused a lot of people to question the stablecoin market as a whole. So I'm curious, what were your thoughts when all that meltdown was going on? Did you maybe think about changing the name, or were you secure in the name? And then B, what are your thoughts on the stablecoin market going forward post Luna and all the algorithmic meltdowns we've seen?
No, we're happy with the name. We're going to keep the name. The name came from Stablecoin Clearinghouse, and it started, and we thought, putting Stablehouse together was a cool name that is a little bit different than all the names that were out there. I think it comes down to sort of lingo and how we portray things. And I don't like to put all stable coins in the same category. Comparing a Terra, a UST, with a USDC or with a Tether is the wrong thing to do, right? When we once thought, I'm investing in a stable coin, when in reality it was a very, very risky play. And then we were thinking, stable coins are very risky. They're not. When we think about what these sort of larger market cap stable coins are, they're fiat-backed stable coins. There are a few algorithmic stable coins out there. Maker is one that's done fairly well, that's collateralized with crypto. You have things like Synthetics' SUSD that has a similar mechanism that is, backed by crypto, also different mechanism, of course. And then you have UST, which ended up kind of wanting to be a perpetual motion machine, but effectively failed, right? And so there's a lot of innovation out there. And I think people overuse the term stable coin to their end, to an end that was sort of nefarious, right? Because there was really nothing stable in the long run about a coin that would be backed by volatile crypto, especially one particular crypto. I think it comes down to education. I think it comes down to understanding what one expects from a stable coin. For me, a stable coin in its sort of essential feature is just an check, right? It's an electronic check. You're basically, there's money in a bank account, and it's tokenized on a blockchain, hopefully a secure blockchain like a Bitcoin blockchain, an Ethereum blockchain, and it just enables you to move money around, quickly, efficiently, and transparently, right? Now, some groups decided that money in a bank account can be seized. It's very centralized. Fair enough. So they decided to make it such that maybe it couldn't be seized, and but they had to come up with a mechanism that was quite complicated and that instilled risk, right? And that's in that so-called stablecoin. And so we feel good about the stablecoin market long term. I think it will do well. It obviously has proven itself. The market cap of stablecoins at one point was bigger than the Ethereum network market cap. So it's to say that that there's a lot of value there, right? So we'll see what happens in the next few years. I just don't think stablecoins are going away. I don't think Bitcoins are going away. Obviously, crypto is not going away. We had a really bad, and quick, right? Really, really fast sort of downtrend. But I think we're finding our footing here, and I think we will do well in the future. And I think everybody becomes an expert when they have skin in the game, right? And things don't go well, right? And there's a lot of people who are looking at crypto, never touch crypto, and they don't really care so much, right? They think they become an expert, but you only become an expert when you really have your skin in the game and you've taken, you're licking your chops after a bear market, and you just suddenly realize, oh wow, I didn't even think about, I had my money with this company. They were great at marketing, not so good at understanding risk management. They were more of a hedge fund, less of a platform. These things kind of come to bear, and people realize that maybe they made a mistake because they were not thinking about the right thing. They were thinking about making money quickly instead of thinking about, well, what happens in the background? What if things don't go right? Right. And I think everybody's kind of become a bit of an expert in, making sure that, we have a duration that is matching on our assets and our liabilities, that we are not, that our products are matched, right? That we're not like selling Bitcoin for $1 and then finding out that we don't have enough dollars or Bitcoin at any point in time to face redemptions and withdrawals. So these things come with time. A lot of it can come from traditional finance, by the way. We tend to reinvent the wheel in crypto a lot, but we don't have to. A lot of it is sort of exists in common literature, right? We can find a lot of experience in traditional finance, it's not all novel.
Well, gentlemen, I appreciate you taking some time out of your day to give us a glimpse into what's going on over there at Stablehouse. We have to keep rolling to our next segment. But before we go, we always like to leave our audience wanting more. So if there's a topic we didn't get a chance to discuss on the show, you wanted to really quickly address it for our audience, or perhaps you want to leave our listeners with a bit of a hint, a bit of a tease of what they can expect coming down the pike from you and the team at Stablehouse. Now is the time, gentlemen. The floor is yours.
Well, I'll throw perhaps one bit. Anyone that's curious about investment platforms that help bridge both new opportunities in crypto and a level of stability and risk-adjusted returns, this is a good place to start and discover. One of the first things that we're going to do next is open up our mobile app, which is coming in just literally a few weeks. And we believe that to be our number one requested feature. And so I would expect, anyone who's interested in Stablehouse would want to also be able to interact on their mobile.
I like it. And if folks want to learn more, they want to try out that mobile app for themselves, where should they go? What should they do, gentlemen?
Stablehouse.com, and then take it from there.
There you go. Stablehouse.com is pretty straightforward, listeners. As we keep on rolling, it is time for the Bitcoin Breakdown.
It's time to explore the latest trending activity, trends, and developments across the world's leading crypto market. It's time for the Bitcoin Breakdown.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Bitcoin Breakdown, the portion of the show where we do just that. We break down all the action in the world's leading digital asset. Yes, we're talking about the big dog, which is Bitcoin. A little bit bigger this week than it was last week. In fact, a little bit bigger across the board. We'll get to that when we get to the market cap in the altcoin universe in a little bit. But coming into showtime, we had Bitcoin a little bit shy of the 22K level, 21,933 to be precise. That is, of course, a wee bit higher than it was on our last show. We were just right around the 20,500 handle on our last show, 2575 to be precise. We got as high earlier in today's session of 22,680. Obviously, I've come off that a little bit right now. And the low came last Wednesday, 19,148. So a little bit of a range out there over the course of the past year. That little bit of a range is going to translate into a little bit more vol. In fact, if you want to learn more about vol and all the analytics we're going to talk about here on the show today, you know where to go. Genesis Volatility is the place to go, aka GVol.io. GVOL.io is the place to go to kick the tires and light the fires on the vol and the skew and everything else we're going to talk about on the show today. Great new coat of paint over there. I'm still playing around with it myself, learning about all the new bells and whistles they've added over there. So check it out for yourselves. GVol.io is the place to go. If you did that, you would see that the current average at the money vol in Bitcoin across the term structure right now, 73 and about a quarter. That's up a little over 4 points from our last show. We were at a 69 on our last show. So that vol creeping up a little bit, which again, we've had a close to not quite 4,000 points, but pretty close to about 3,000 and change on the week. That's going to translate into a little bit more vol out there. BitVol, which is, of course, our buddy Simon Ho's metric, his 30-day rolling, effectively Bitcoin VIX, also reflecting a little bit more juice, a little bit more froth out there. 82.5 on today's show, 75.5 on the show last week, so ticking up about 7 handles there. Skew-wise, we're seeing that reflected out there as well, that 1 hour 30-20 skew, so kind of a rolling snapshot of all the options in the 30 to 20 delta range there. It was a -4 on our last show. This show about a -2. That's close to positive. That's pretty much one of the more positive readings we've seen on the show in quite some time. Of course, it is still negative, but it's not quite the -30 we saw not too long ago out there in the height of the sell-off when we first broke 20,000 to the dark side. The bit skew, Simon's 30-day bit skew metric out there, that's kind of hovering around unched. It was a 96 on our last show, 95 this week. Let's get out to the open interest, see what's open out there on Deribit this week. And it's still mostly calls out there. 134,500 calls are open in Bitcoin on Deribit right now. It's up 7,500 from this time last week. The puts are at about 83,000. It's up about 6,000 from this time last week. So increases on both of them, but calls still leading the dance. Not quite 2-1 anymore, but still a hefty lead for the calls out there on Deribit. Let's see where you folks are lining up from an expiration perspective this week. And it is still front month. It is July, holding down the number 1 spot, at least for a few more weeks here till it goes the way of the dodo. July, 68,000 contracts open on Deribit in July. That's up 7,000 from this time last week, followed by number 2, September, 55,000 contracts. It's up 3,000 from this time last week. And bringing up the rear, we have December, 38,000 contracts. That's up 2,000 from this time last week. Given the fact that we're moving around a little bit, not surprising that folks want to pile into July, get a little bit more gamma with their options this week. Let's see where you folks are lining up from an overall strike perspective. What are the size open positions in Bitcoin options right now? Let's find out. Number 5 in our top 5 this week, we have the 40,000 strike. So getting a little bit more optimistic maybe. That's got 7,500 contracts open. That's a newcomer to our top 5 this week. Number 4 is the 15,000 strike. That was a new addition last week. That has 9,000 contracts open this week. That's down 4,000 from this time last week. So not as much interest in the 15,000 strike as we're rallying away from it. Makes some sense. Number 3, the 20,000 strike. We've been flirting with this one for a while. It is number 3 this week with 12,000 contracts open. That's down about 100. So it's pretty much unched on the week. Number 2, the 30,000 strike. That has 13,300 contracts open. That's up 100. So again, pretty much unched on the week. And the number 1 size position in Bitcoin options yet again this week, the 25,000 strike. That has 17,000 contracts open this week. That's up about 2,300. So as we're rallying, more folks piling into the 25,000 strike. Not exactly surprising. In terms of action, we had a little bit more paper on the tape this week. The big day was the 12th with nearly 20,000 contracts, about 19,600. That's more than last week, which was 16,300. The week before that, we had 15,600. We have to go all the way back to the dark days of the middle of June to the big sell-off to when we saw 54,000 contracts. Nothing like that this week, but still a little bit more action, a little bit more paper on the tape this week. Well, let's go on out to CME land, see if we're seeing a little bit more paper. Didn't see much more on the options front, only 49 contracts going up on the big options on Friday. The OI, though, ticking up a little bit. It's up about 600 contracts to 4,100. So whether it's the fact that Bitcoin is just cheaper now or some new funds have discovered it, whatever the case, it does seem like more folks are playing in the big Bitcoin options as reflected in the increase in the OI yet again this week. In terms of the big futures, again, these are the 5x multiplier contracts, listeners. We saw a light day on Friday, about 7,000 contracts going up. The OI is pretty much unchanged. It's up about 500 over the week to about 13,700. So again, kind of light on the futures front. Let's go out to the smaller stuff, see if you folks are playing out there this week. The micro Bitcoin futures over there at CME. That OI ticking up about 4,000 this week to about 20,000 contracts open. We've seen much more OI out there, so that's nothing really super exciting. The Friday, we saw about 7,500 contracts trading as well. So again, kind of a quiet Friday, but again, it is July, usually not a rock'em sock'em robots period. We're seeing that reflected out there in the overall volume at CME. Let's see if we find anything exciting going on in the altcoin universe, because we're heading out there next.
It's time to move beyond Bitcoin and find out what's moving the rest of the crypto marketplace. It's time to boldly venture into the altcoin universe.
All right, everybody, welcome to the altcoin universe, a portion of the show where we explore everything outside of the big dog, which is Bitcoin, except for right now, which is when we break down the top 10 from a market cap perspective. In fact, we were half joking on the show last week that the market cap was getting pretty light out there these days. Well, we're starting to see things trending in the right direction, at least for all you crypto bulls out there. For all U.S. crypto, they have finally regained the 1 trillion market cap level. Of course, if you add them all up, Bitcoin, your ETH, your Solanas, Polygons, all that fun stuff, add them all up, we're back over 1 trillion. Now, it wasn't too long ago Bitcoin itself was up there. We're not quite there, listeners, but still interesting time, cause for celebration for some of you out there, I know, in the crypto landscape. Let's get to the top 10 right now. Dogecoin, number 10, still holding down the number 10 spot. It's got about 8.8 billion worth of market cap out there this week. Number 9, we've got Solana, 14.1 billion. Number 8, Cardano, 16.2 billion. Number 7, XRP. Will they, won't they? Who knows with XRP at this point? 17.3 billion for XRP. Number 6, Binance USD, 18 billion exactly. Number 5, BNB, 42 billion. Once again, we jump up huge from number 6 to number 5. We go from 18 billion to 42 billion. Number 4, USD Coin, 54.5 billion. Number 3, Tether, 65.5 billion. Number 2, it's ETH, 176 billion. And number 1, the big dog. Actually, I misspoke before. It was close to half a billion, not quite. 420 billion for Bitcoin. So again, you add them all up, we're back over the 1T level, listeners. So rejoice, if you will, listeners. Getting into ETH now, number 2 in market cap, number 1 in a lot of your hearts. ETH coming in to start the show, 1482. That's a wee bit higher than it has been of late. On our last show, we were 1152, so you're talking 330 handles. That's quite a rally out there. We got to as high today as 1522, retracing off that now. And the low was last Wednesday, 1,027 out there. In terms of the at-the-money vol out there in ETH, again, this little bit of a rally. Folks are piling into the call, so we're going to see the vol increase. That's pretty much what we saw this week. 98.6 at-the-money vol out there in ETH this week. 86.6 last week, so up 12 points on the week. That's a nice little pop from a vol perspective. Skew-wise, we're seeing a lot more positivity, shall we say, on the skew here. Last week, we were negative 4.5. We've been negative for quite some time in ETH. This week, finally swinging to the positive, 2.1. So that's the first time we've seen a positive skew in ETH in quite some time. So intriguing stuff. Will this last? Is this just a little bit of a dead cat bounce before we retrace back again? We shall see. But right now, positive skew yet again out here in ETH land. In terms of the OI out here, call still leading the dance by more than 2-1 in ETH. 2.25 million contracts open on the call front right now. It's up 210,000 contracts again. It was up 210,000 contracts the week before too. That seems like that's just the number we're getting out there and Deribit on an ETH options perspective. The puts, 782,000 puts open on Deribit. That's up 79,000. But again, we're closing in on 3-1 now calls over puts. So a lot of action on the call front. In terms of action, we saw a decent amount of paper on Deribit this week as well. 230,000 contracts was the biggest day. That was yesterday, the 17th. Before that, we got to go all the way back to mid-June, the dark days of mid-June, to see a higher day. That was 391,000 contracts. Last week, for example, we saw only 165,000 contracts on the show. The week before, 181,000. So 230, decent amount of paper, especially for a usually quiet period here in July. Let's get on out to the action, see what's lighting things up out here this week. And in terms of the big dog, right now it's actually September, still ruling the roost with 852,000 contracts. That's up 23,000 from this time last week, followed by number 2, September, 637,000 contracts. Opens up 32,000 from this time last week. And July bringing up the rear, 602,000 contracts, up 128,000. Will it have time to catch and dethrone September? We shall find out. Let's get on out to the top strikes out here. Let's go to the bottom again. Number 5, another newcomer, the 1,500 strike with 121,000 contracts. That's a newcomer to the top 5. Number 4, 1,400 strike, also a newcomer to the top 5 with 127,000 contracts. Number 3, the 3,500 strike, getting a little more optimistic now. 131,500 contracts open. That's down 1,500 from this time last week. Number 2, the 5,000 strike, 172,000 contracts open. They're up 6,000 from this time last week. And the big dog still in ETH land to 4,000 strike, 182,000 contracts open. That's up about 1,000. Let's get on out to the big ETH futures. There we go. And we saw a little bit of action on the tape this past week. We saw 7,100 contracts going up on Friday. That's actually a pretty decent day for the big ETH contract. And the OI hanging out right about close to 4,000, about 3,900 contracts, and now it's up about 100. So the OI, not a big change, but decent paper on Friday. Let's get on out to the micro ETH contracts and see what's going on out there. 25,000 contracts going up on Friday. So again, a decent day as we're rallying, folks starting to pile in again. On the OI, actually ticking down a little bit, down about 6,000 contracts to 40,000 contracts open out there. On the micro contracts at CME. Let's get on out to some of the other popular altcoin. Then we'll get out of here for this week. XRP coming into today's show, 35.8 cents last week, 32.4 cents. Or up a little over 3, about 3.3 cents. Good old Dogecoin, 6.6 cents this week, 6.4 cents last week. So up a wee bit on the week. Litecoin, 56, almost $57 this week. It was 50 3/4 last week. So up a little over $6 on the week, about 6.20. Cardano, 47.9, easy for me to say, about 48 cents this week, 44.6 cents last week, so that's up 3.2 cents. Polkadot, 7.38 this week, 6.85 last week, up 53 cents. And Solana, 40.5 bucks. It was 35 and about a half last week, so up about $5 from this time last week. And let's go to Shiba, because why not? Last week on the show, it was 0.000011. This week, a whopping 0.000012. So all you Shiba billionaires out there, all of you rejoice. Getting a little bit back this week. Maybe the Shiba Lambos, maybe they're coming sooner than we expected. All right, that's going to do it for the Crypto Rundown this week. I want to thank our guests from Stablehouse, Michael and Philippe. Check them out over there. Stablehouse.com is the place to go to learn more. And of course, you know where to go to learn more about everything we talked about in the show today. Genesis Volatility, aka gvol.io, is the place to go. That's going to do it for our broadcast day today. But don't worry, we're back tomorrow. Pro Q&A for all of you cool cats in the secret club with none other than the flow master himself. The man knows a thing or two about some options flow. So if you have questions about what's trading out there, what are people up to, how are they structuring their trades, what are they doing, he is the guy to ask. So get those questions in now if you haven't done so already. The flow master, always popular guest. And if you haven't joined the pro, now is a great time to do it. theoptionsinsider.com/pro, so you can get in on that great pro Q&A with Henry. Check out all the other ones we've done, 50 odd of them, as well as Options Oddities. Get registered for the giveaway and a whole bunch more. And we'll see you back here throughout the week for a lot of great content on the network, and then back again next Monday, another episode of the Crypto Rundown. Stay safe out there, everybody.
This program is brought to you by Genesis Volatility, also known as GVol, home of institutional-grade crypto options analytics. Whether you're trading CeFi options or DeFi options, cryptocurrencies move. Use GVol Analytics to analyze implied volatility, model realized volatility, structure positions, and unlock alpha. For more information, visit gvol.io. That's GVOL.io. You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.